is the crown not for royalty, but it's the crown for victory. They actually held Olympic Games in Smyrna. So there are two words in Greek, Stephanos and diadema, that have to do with crowns. But what's used in this particular case is the word for victory, not the word for royalty. And that's important. Here's a picture of the goddess, the fertility goddess, Cybele. And what you want to know is that if you choose to, you can drive to the Getty Museum, which isn't too far from here, and you can see this marble statue that was actually made from about the same time that John wrote the letter to the church at Smyrna. This is what they were worshiping in the city of Smyrna. Now, there is a Christian background that's important as well. The city was, the Christian church, that is, was founded in the city by Paul on his third missionary journey. And Paul, being Jewish, converted many of the Jewish people to the Christian faith. However, the other Jews, we'll call them national Jews, they hated the Christian Jews. Now, the national Jews were actually exempted from worshiping the emperor and the goddesses, goddess especially of Cybele. They were exempted. But everybody else had to worship and participate in the festivals and the feast days and the holy days. And if they would refuse, of course, they would be executed or otherwise punished. So these national Jews actually sold out the Christian Jews. They would say, well, these folks shouldn't be exempted. These folks are not national Jews. They are Christian Jews, so they should be worshiping like all of the Gentiles. And that's important in this message, because we'll see in just a moment. Now, the most famous martyr from this city, the one who gave his life for the Lord, his name was Polycarp, and he was martyred in the year 156 A.D. And this was the most persecuted church in all of Asia. And there were a lot more than the 7, as we've already talked about. But this was the most persecuted church. Now, I'm going to take you to see the city. Here is the city that was on the top of the hill. This is the crown of Smyrna. This is the fortress that was built on top of the hill. And right there you can see the entry into this fortress. And then right outside the fortress, as our tour bus let out the people and we went inside the city, I found that there was this hot chick, and I just took a picture of her, and she was standing there next to this young man who doesn't go to school. Neither of these guys in the pictures went to school, but they were selling things, and this was like a pastry or breadstick that they were selling, and I think we paid $1 for one, and then later we found out that they usually sell them for $0.25. So I guess they expect you to barter a little bit. We didn't know that at that time. And the other young man in the red shirt there, he just wants to be in the picture. We didn't even know where he came from. He just popped in the picture. As you look inside the fortress, you can see there are actually streets, and there was an area of woods. And then what's amazing to me is that here you can see the cisterns that were in the city. Now, there's no point in having a fortress if everyone runs into the fortress when the city's being attacked, They go up the hill, and they're inside the fortress, and in the fortress, they die of thirst. See, that wouldn't be much of a fortress. So what they did, since there were no springs up there, they had these underground cisterns. So they could, if the city was under siege or they were under attack, they could stay in here almost indefinitely because there were huge cisterns. And this is part of the cistern system that you see here. Now, what was amazing to me is that you could walk right up to this. You know, if we were if these were in America, you would have signs up everywhere because of, you know, lawsuits and things like that. You'd have signs up, you'd have fences up, and you'd say danger. Not here. You could walk right over and fall right in. It was just kind of amazing to me that they're so lax about that sort of thing. But here were these cisterns. Anyone could walk right up, and anyone, if they were stupid enough, could fall into them. Here's another picture of the cisterns. And from this fortress, if you looked out over the edge of the mountain, you could see the bay, and you could actually see Smyrna. Smyrna today is called Izmir. It's the largest city in Turkey, and its population today is 1.8 million. When John wrote the letter to Smyrna, the population was between 125,000 and 200,000. Here's another picture of the bay, and it's a very prosperous city. It's a city that had been destroyed over and over, and now it's probably in its heyday. It's a thriving economy. Now, as you look out over the city, you'll see this area of grass. And this area of grass down below, at one time, was the site of what they call the agora, but it was a marketplace. And I'm going to take you now to the basement of that marketplace. Now, this is just on the top of the basement. You see there are pillars on the first floor, but then there are these arches that go down, and that's where the basement is. You look at it from another direction, you can actually walk right straight into the basement. And when you get into the basement, you see all of these arches that supported the temple that was, not the temple, but the marketplace that was on top, which had columns and a roof. It's a beautiful structure. And what I'd like you to notice in this particular slide is right in the middle of the arch, there's this capstone. And this capstone is the last block of stone to be put into place. And in all of these arches, there is no mortar, no cement, no mortar at all. They are perfectly cut. And then what the stonemasons did is they dropped in the capstone, and that locked everything into place. But they did not use mortar. You can see here there's a number of areas that could have been used for shops. And then you also have these arches with an area about the size of a football field on top. This is a unique structure in so much that in this one place, three arches come together, and it's a architectural phenomena that's very special. And so the guide was pointing that out to us. You don't see that very often. And this lady kept following us around. So I took her picture, and there's a stream that she's sitting by, and the stream of water looks like this. There was a natural spring down here that was bringing water into the city, and that was used for drinking water, was also used for cleaning the city, and also for, well, it was plumbing.